Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into what is honestly the ultimate historical cold case. We're looking at an ancient economic superpower that vanished so completely its very existence was thought to be pure myth for centuries. Seriously, a total myth. I'm so excited to take you through this incredible story and unpack how a civilization sitting right at the absolute center of the ancient world basically became nothing more than a rumor. Okay, so picture this. 4,000 years ago, Sumerian scribes and poets were writing about a place that was, well, practically paradise. They called it a land without sorrow, pure. Their ancient cuneiform tablets described this incredible utopia where no wolf attacked the lamb, no one ever grew sick, and no old woman wept. It was a place of such profound peace and prosperity that a lot of modern scholars actually believe these descriptions inspired the later concept of the Garden of Eden. In this place, the Sumerians called it Dilmun. But this leads us to a massive, mind-bending mystery. How exactly did a poetic utopia, a place famously known for eternal life in the Epic of Gilgamesh, become associated in reality with one of the most puzzling physical anomalies of the 20th century desert? For centuries, historians just assumed Dilmun was a beautiful fiction. There were no maps, no ruins, really no reason to believe it was an actual real-world trading partner. But as we'll see, the evidence was hiding in plain sight. It just wasn't in the form anyone expected. The sheer scale of this mystery is absolutely staggering. Across the landscape of the modern-day nation of Bahrain, early European travelers and locals were walking past an unbelievable sea of dirt burial mounds, like everywhere. Early explorers guessed there were originally as many as 80,000 of them. Today, even conservative counts recognized by UNESCO confirm there are over 11,000 surviving mounds. And for centuries, these mounds just sat there, entirely disconnected from any known history. Nobody knew who built them, and nobody had a clue why there were so many concentrated in this one specific place. Section 1. The ultimate ancient middleman. Right, so to solve the mystery of these tens of thousands of graves, we really have to look past that beautiful Sumerian poetry and understand the staggering, real-world supply chain of the ancient world around 2300 BCE. Dilmun wasn't some conquering military force, it was literally the ultimate logistics empire. Over to the west, you had Mesopotamia, places like Sumer and Babylon, and they were desperate for copper, which was, the defining metal of the Bronze Age. Then to the east, you had the vast Indus Valley civilization in modern-day Pakistan and India. Dilmun sat right smack in the middle, in the Persian Gulf. Mesopotamia exported silver, wool, and olive oil. The Indus Valley sent copper, pearls, timber, and lapis lazuli. Dilmun controlled this entire flow, acting as the central hub for virtually every single valuable commodity moving across the known world. At its absolute peak, this island nation wasn't just a quick rest stop. It was a thriving metropolis supporting tens of thousands of residents. They had these vast warehouses to store all these goods, and absolutely crucially, they had standardized weights. Dilmun successfully managed the trade between the two largest economies on Earth simultaneously. This was one of the central hubs of Bronze Age history, and yet, almost nobody alive today has ever even heard of it. Section 2. The world's oldest ledger. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did ancient merchants actually establish trust across thousands of miles of open ocean and unforgiving deserts, especially when they never actually met face-to-face? Well, they used what archaeologists call Persian Gulf-type seals. These were small, really distinctive, circular stone stamps. When a massive shipment of copper or pearls was packaged up, these seals were pressed directly into the clay to mark the goods. They functioned exactly like a notarized signature does today. In a very real sense, this was a decentralized ledger for ancient commerce. It was an entire system built specifically to establish trust between strangers. And this decentralized ledger system was so incredibly reliable and used so widely that modern archaeologists have found these exact same circular seals spanning thousands of miles. We're talking from Lothal in Gujarat, India, all the way across to the ancient cities of Iraq. I mean, think about what that means for a second. The physical proof of Dilmun's vast influence was literally stamped on goods traversing the entire ancient world, proving their reach went way, way beyond their island borders. Section 3. The unlikely discovery. So the strangest part of this whole story is how this massive middleman empire remained a total cold case until a remarkably accidental discovery in the mid-20th century. In 1889, British explorer Theodore Bent poked around the mounds and found some tantalizing clues. A bit of ivory, some charred wood, but nothing truly definitive. Fast forward to 1947. A guy named Geoffrey Bibby arrives in Bahrain. Now, Bibby had actually trained as an archaeologist at Cambridge, but after serving in British intelligence during World War II, he just couldn't find archaeology work. So he takes a job with an oil company. But walking past those thousands of mounds every day, he just couldn't shake his archaeological instincts. In the 1950s, he ended up partnering with a Danish archaeologist named Peter Globe, and together they started digging beneath a Portuguese-era fort. And what they uncovered absolutely rewrote history. They didn't just find a few stray artifacts here and there. They unearthed the remains of a major palace and a massive city wall. At another site, they discovered the Barber Temple, complete with a sacred well dedicated to Enki. And amazingly, Enki was the Sumerian god of water and creation, the exact deity associated with the mythical paradise of Dilmun in those ancient poems. Most importantly, they found those distinctive circular seals matching goods from Ur and the Indus Valley. They had finally provided the hard, physical evidence connecting those mysterious desert graves to the mythical Sumerian paradise. Dilmun was real. Section 4. The Quiet Erasure. But that brings us to a huge question. If Dilmun was the beating heart of ancient global trade, why did it vanish so completely from human memory that we had to accidentally dig it up thousands of years later? See, we usually think of empires falling through violent erasure, invading armies, burning capitals to the ground, monuments toppled, a sudden dramatic collapse. But Dilmun is actually a textbook case of quiet erasure. After around 1600 BCE, their trade networks simply began to decline. They were gradually absorbed into larger surrounding powers, eventually folding into the political orbits of Mesopotamia and later Persia. They didn't burn down, they just slowly faded away over generations. It's actually a lot like a massive regional business quietly losing relevance and eventually just going out of business today. Furthermore, Dilmun was an empire that expressed its immense wealth primarily through its burial customs, remember those 11,000 plus mounds, rather than through monumental propaganda. They didn't build colossal statues of kings or carve grand inscriptions into mountainsides boasting of their conquests. Because their wealth went back into the earth in the form of graves, their legacy, at least to the untrained eye passing by centuries later, looked like nothing more than an unusually large graveyard. It certainly didn't look like the footprint of a former economic titan. In the end, the clearest fingerprint this economic superpower left behind wasn't a towering palace or a solid gold throne. As the source material beautifully puts it, what survived of Dilmun was the equivalent of a logo on an invoice. Their truest legacy was those small, stone seals, tools designed purely and pragmatically to verify a shipment of copper between strangers who trusted a system more than they trusted each other. It's a beautifully mundane yet incredibly powerful legacy, isn't it? So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Dilmun is a profound reminder that massive economic power absolutely does not guarantee historical memory. The foundations of global trust, the very systems we rely on every single day for international trade, were pioneered by a civilization we literally had to dig out of the sand just to prove it existed. Next time you sign for a delivery or trust a logo on a package arriving at your door, ask yourself, will you remember the vanished empire that helped invent the very idea? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the history beneath your feet, and I'll see you next time.